Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about a new game called Following Hansel and Gretel on the Number Line. Or you could just call it Hansel and Gretel on the Number Line. So things you are going to need for this game. You'll need a number line. You can tell I actually took one piece of paper, cut it into strips, 4 strips, and then wrote numbers on it. It is not the nicest number line. It's not what we'd have in the classroom, but you know what? Such is life right now. So I'm literally just going to tape this number line to the next one. So I have 23, so my next number is going to be 24. There we go, taped. Okay, taped them together. Tape the next part on. So that is how you can make a number line. Literally just cut some strips and write numbers. Ideally, you'll have about the same number of numbers on every line, but it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, keep them relatively the same. You shouldn't have gigantic gaps at one end and then numbers really scrunched at the other. But as long as it's relatively close, it is fine. So I know a few numbers different on each number line, and it will still work. So, just a second, let me get this last piece of the number line put together. There we go. And so here we have a pretty long number line. So I'm going to put that on the floor, and hopefully in a second you'll be able to see when I start playing this game. So you're going to need those, and then you're going to need game cards. So these have the pine cones and the pebbles that Hansel and Gretel dropped as they were walking. So I'm literally just going to cut them out into rectangles. I drew them on by hand. They are not the best pine cones, but they will do. Okay, so nice, easy. You can make this game pretty quickly on your own at home with whatever materials you have. It might be easier also not to use a marker. I used a marker because it's easier to see when I'm showing you this stuff. But, so each pebble, as we've been talking about today, or this week, is 10, represents 10 steps, okay? So if I was to draw this, so your goal is going to be to move a game piece. We're going to use my marker cap to move a game piece along the number line until you get to the end. And the person who gets to the end first wins. So a pebble represents 10. And if you wanted to make it easier, you could also write the number 10 on the other end of it, okay? So that way you draw it, you know you're moving 10. So if I'm start at 0, okay. Hopefully you can see that. You cannot. Let me work on this, sorry. Okay, so there we have our number line. My marker is at 0 and it goes to 10. Okay, and then I would draw my next one. And the next one is, remember the pebbles were every 10, and then the pine cones were every 5 in between the pebbles. So this one would represent 15. Okay, and I should have left more space between this and the 15. That way I know they're not together. But so this one represents 15, so I'd move 15 spots. Okay, so I'd go 10 and 10 is 20, and then 5 more would be 25. Okay, moving along that number line. So then I could draw this one, and this one would represent 5. Okay, and 25 and 5 more gives me 30, and so I'm moving along that number line. Nice and easy. This is where it gets a little bit trickier. Keep in mind, this one is not 10, 15, 25. Okay, this is the 5 mark in between. Okay, so it's actually just 20. Okay, so this one is 20. So if I'm at 30 right now, I'd move myself to 50. And I'm moving right along on this game. I'm going to win pretty soon. So just like that one would have been 20, this would be 10 steps, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay, so this one would be 30, so I can write 30 here if I want to make sure that I can remember. And if I am at 50 right now, I'd move to 80, which actually, on my number line, I win. Woo! Ideally, your number line will go to at least 120. But if you need to make it a little easier, you can keep it at some of those lower numbers. So that is one way to play. Another way to play would be doing it like this. So in this version, instead of showing the actual path, so I'm using this as a 5. So 10, 10, 10, 5. So this would be 35. This would be 15. This is 5, 45, 20, and 10. Okay, so I could cut these out. That'd be another option. Another way to do it would be to create cards that show just numbers. So you could say 5, 10, 15. If you want to get really tricky, you could start adding in numbers that aren't on 5s or 10s. Okay, that gets a little bit harder. And then finally, we are going to, as you're playing, it's a race down the number line to see who can get there first. So if you want to, one thing you could do is you could have your kid draw on the number line different ways, different markers to help themselves keep track. So we could draw on this number line where Hansel and Gretel would have dropped different things. So they would have dropped a pine cone at the 5. So I could draw a pine cone at my 5, my super not great pine cones there. And I could draw a pebble at the 10. Okay, and that can help them keep track of where they are on the number line. Okay, that way, they're keeping track just like Hansel and Gretel. So this game is meant to help get comfortable with the number line, get comfortable with moving along a number line, with hopping on a number line, and with moving different distances on the number line, because eventually we're really going to be working on being able to fill in individual numbers on the number line and being able to see forward and backward how much they need to move, because that is the basis of base 10. Essentially, we're looking at these like our base 10 blocks. So each one of these is a 10, and each one of these is 5, even though we don't have a 5 in our base 10 blocks. So that is the idea. I hope you have fun. I hope this is an easy enough game to make. It took me, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes tops to make this game really quickly. It could be a fun one to race through the forest. I hope everybody has fun. Stay safe, wash your hands, and have a good day, everybody. Bye.